Smoke signals from around the campfire.
My name is Hennig. I'm Australian originally, but I now live in Budapest in Hungary. My background is actually I have a PhD in mathematics, and I was then a software engineer. I got involved in politics, realised politics was broken, and then founded the Sortition Foundation to promote citizens' assemblies. I got politicised probably around the time of the Iraq War, a bit earlier. Got involved in social justice movements, became what I guess you would call an activist, involved in direct action, non-violent direct action. After being involved in that for a few years, I joined a political party and I climbed up the greasy pole of the internal political party structures and quickly became quite disillusioned, at which point I started looking at alternative mechanisms of democracy, participatory democracy, and stumbled across Sortition and had my moment of enlightenment where I went, wow, this could solve so many problems with our representative democracy. And so founded the Sortition Foundation and started promoting citizens' assemblies and random selection in politics. Sortition just means random selection, and it was an ancient process used even in Athens, the so-called birthplace of democracy. Many people know about the agora where all free male citizens could turn up to and discuss legislation, but they know less about the fact that all around that direct democratic assembly were sortition bodies populated with randomly selected people who would draft the legislation, who would decide whether it's constitutional. And for thousands of years, sortition or random selection meant democracy, whereas elections were equated with oligarchy. You can find quotes in Aristotle where he says, elections are oligarchic and random selection is democratic. So it's ancient, it's been going on for a long time. In about 40, 50 years ago, in the early 70s, people started trying to use random selection again in politics. In Germany, there was planning cells, and in the US, there were things called citizens' juries. We've now, in the last 15 years, seen an explosion of interest in citizens' assemblies, and particularly in the last 1 or 2 since the Irish Citizens' Assembly. So the Citizens' Assembly follows a few fairly clear steps. Firstly, you randomly select a number of households to send an invitation to, say 10,000 households in a certain region. Of the people who receive that invitation, you then do a second random selection to make sure that they match the demographic profile of the place. So you have half men, half women from all the sort of socioeconomic backgrounds. You match age, so you get lots of young people, a few old people, etc. Once you have done the selection to match the demographics of the place, so you have a mini public is the technical name, a microcosm of society, a group that looks exactly like the community, you then inform them about the issue you're discussing. You then get them to deliberate with people they would never normally talk to. So they talk about the proposed changes, they listen to other people's ideas, they develop levels of empathy with these diverse viewpoints, and then they move to a decision phase where they say, okay, out of all these options that have been put to us, I think we would prefer this one for these reasons. And actually the reasons are almost as important as the decisions, so people can know why they want those certain options implemented. One of the largest, most recent ones is in South Australia actually, where they randomly selected 300 people to talk about whether South Australia should have a nuclear waste dump. So these randomly selected people came together over several weekends. They heard to the industry lobby who said, oh, of course we need to have a nuclear waste dump, it's going to make us lots of money. They heard from the environment lobby who said nuclear waste is not safe, etc. They deliberated among themselves, and in the end, 2/3 of those people said, no, we don't trust that the government can actually do this safely. And so the government took this on board, and now there's no nuclear waste dump in South Australia. And the other successful recent example is the Irish Citizens' Assembly, where one of the topics they debated or deliberated upon was the constitutional ban on abortion. This was 99 randomly selected people, broadly representative of Irish society, who listened to stories, listened to the evidence, listened to the moral and ethical dimensions of this debate, and then came to the decision that they should remove this constitutional ban on abortion. It was about a 2/3 decision of the Assembly members. This was then put to a vote in a famous referendum, and about 2/3 of the Irish populace, or the Irish citizens, also voted to remove that constitutional ban on abortion, which has since been removed. So the sortition process tries to simulate what I would call the ideal democratic process. So the ideal democratic process would be where every citizen has the opportunity to deliberate with diverse people in an informed environment. Unfortunately, we can't get all of society to do that. So you randomly select a representative bunch and you get them to simulate what the whole of society would have done if they had that opportunity, essentially. So is it a mathematical representation? It's a different form of representation. It's not where you're voting for someone and saying, I hope that you will do this. It's a representation where this body of people looks like society and will therefore hopefully come to the decision that society would have come to. I hope to make connections here at Campfire Convention with other people who are trying to promote citizens' assemblies and sortition. In fact, I've met quite a few people from Frome here who are interested in the citizens' assembly. I hope to inspire people to promote this in their local area, and I hope to just connect with people and make this into a movement that can eventually transform democracy in this country.